Peterbot, Cold, and Ritual have won the FNCS yet again, this time in spectacular fashion by in the final game landing on top of Pollo, who was in first place previously, to try and win it all, making basically the most insane play of all time. So in this game, I'm going to run through exactly that final match, the story, how it all unfolded, and exactly what we can learn from it. So coming into the final match, game number 12, you can see the points. 770 for Agers, Acorn, and Pollo, and 680 for Ritual, Cold, and Peterbot. Now, Peterbot had moved, and he's been landing boxcars for the entire tournament. However, for the final game, they decided to go back and land on top of Agers, Acorn, and Pollo. Now, what's really interesting about this is the fact that Pollo's team has basically won this off-spawn fight. I don't want to say every single match, but for the vast majority of matches. So if Peterbot loses this off-spawn, not only do they not win FNCS, but they also come like 3rd or 4th instead. So this play to land on Pollo in the final match is literally just like the biggest confidence play, I'll put it that way so I don't get demonetized, that you possibly can. All right, win off spawn. The FNCS first place team is down, lose off spawn, and you're out. So Peterbot instantly drops down to grab the shotgun, which is really nice, but he gets blocked off. Is that his teammate? No. So he manages to pickaxe his way out. Does he jump to phase through? No, just drops Pollo through, who also managed to get a shotgun floor spawn. That's Pollo down right off the rip. Agers right on the side here still, and Acorn. Agers manages to pick one up. I was going to say doesn't manage to get the second one, but yes, he does. So Agers is now down, and now Acorn is left running. So just at 100% speed. Let's see again. Remember, Peterbot dies, then it's completely wraps. They are still behind by 90 points. Really nice just to go down straight for the floor spawn. Chops Pollo. Pollo's instantly dead. Jumps off to the side. Manages to wipe out Agers too. So good. I'll come back to Acorn in a second. So how did this actually go? So Agers ended up landing here. Pollo ended up going for this chest, uncontested. And then Richie ended up doubling with Cold over here. I think, who yoinked that? Someone got the crazy macro on that. Wait, who got any of this? It's not loaded yet. Hold on. Play a little further forward. Who got it? Cold got the gun. Ritual got the bandages. Then Acorn got almost nothing. They doubled this chest. I kind of want to just see fully how the fight went out. Great block by Pollo, right? Because obviously Peterbot ended up going down there. But actually to run on top of it is kind of a bit of a milk. Let's be real. Unfortunately, the minimum comes out from Pollo. He gets blocked. Ritual's just running about. Okay, so Ritual also got the mats from that chest. And that ramp is pretty clutch because it stops Pollo from being able to turn around and shoot him. Cold jumping off the edge here, out of the line of sight of Pollo's crazy. Mate, look at the full piece from Richie. Richie's hit the full piece onto Pollo. And as he's doing that, Peterbot is then able to come up from below. Cold's just legging it, even though he's got a gun. Actually, Cold's making a great play now that you look at it. He jumped out here where he would have a left-hand peek onto Pollo, and instead he's wrapping round onto this side where he'll be able to get shot onto Acorn. Like, unfortunately, he misses. I mean, this is a DMR, just a hip fire, so really, really nice attempt to try and hit Ritual there. Sorry, Acorn. But Acorn also still has nothing, so his play to try and like break through here is kind of rough. Agers, does Agers have a gun? Yeah, where did Agers get the gun? Let me go back. I think he must have got the god chest. So from Agers' POV, he slides a little... Ooh, so a little bit mess up of the drop. I think Peter may have bumped in there, actually. Yeah, so he sprints, gets the gun. He also got... Mate, what a chest this is, by the way. Sees Pollo dead. Kind of runs in the open, so like... Okay, he does not Cold. And then he gets pumped by Pete behind. And pickaxe. Wait, did Richie hit with a pickaxe? Now, Richie's a goat. Full piece. The pickaxe skill. Oh my god, Richie. Big Richie. Full piece in Pollo with the 2 walls. And then also pickaxe and Agers. Now, Acorn has absolutely nothing, as you may be able to tell. And he is just getting out of here. He's just running. So it's still clutchable. It's still clutchable by Acorn. He does a good job of absolutely just belting out of here. But we'll see exactly how he ends up dying in a second. Because if you watch this from his POV, it looks a little suspicious, right? He's hiding here. He's just sitting behind this cone, or this cone, this brick. And all of a sudden, you see the full trio just jump. They've not done it yet. Here they go. They're running straight towards him. Building, like, so confidently that they know he's here. Like, how does Pete know that he's right there? All of a sudden. And now he's dead. So the team in first place now down. How did he know he was there? Now, I think this blob ran towards him. I could be wrong here. I need to double check. Yeah. I don't know if I don't know if this is exactly how they work. Like, if they see you're here, do they just run towards you? Or is this blob just doing this? Either way, if you watch from Pete's perspective, which you'll see in a second. Yeah, it does. So I think it might have just ran towards him. Let me go back even further. So these blobs are all out here. Yeah. No, they do move by themselves. So I'm not sure if this is actually true or not, that the blobs ended up running towards Acorn here. And therefore, that gave Pete the awareness. Let me see. No, I think you can actually... Hello, I see you there. Okay, nothing to do with the blob. I thought from what Boop was tweeting about before I actually watched this, I thought Pete saw the blob, and because the blob was then moving, that made him go this way. Maybe he did see the blob, and that made his eyes go this direction, and you could just see his little head popping up. Yeah, let's see. Maybe he did. Let's see the POV. No, it doesn't actually seem like he's aware at this point. It seems like he is maybe going for the blob, but it doesn't look like he's actually fully seen Acorn at this point. Because like his crosshair, if he did, like his crosshair would be pointing at him the whole time. There's no way he'd be looking away. Yeah, and he didn't even have his shotgun out for finding him and killing him. But important thing to note here is, just because they won off spawn, they were still 90 points behind. So in order to win FNCS coming into this game, they still now have to actually win the match with a bunch of elims as well. So I want to see how they play it out for the rest of the game in order to actually overtake. Because, spoiler, they do. Very interesting, now that Dago is down at the bottom, you can see that they've completely blocked off from any angles that teams might be pushing him to third party. So, of course, just like, I was going to say fully blocking off, but Pete may have missed a wall or ended up dying to the boss here. And similar from Richie and Cold, blocking off ramps this direction too, just to make sure teams don't sneak on as easy. I think, unsurprisingly, you're giving Peterbot the mythic AR, and you're also giving him the coin as well. Similarly, harvesting a bunch of metal down below in the basement, because where else are you going to refarm later in the game? It's basically, I'm not going to say impossible, but it's close to impossible. Now, despite the fact that he has the mythic and the heal medallion, Cold actually manages to outdamage him 1.64 in comparison to Peterbot's just 1.1k. I mean, I'm saying just, but like this is still the top of the damage leaderboard overall. But yeah, Cold goes kind of crazy this match. And another important note is that across the 12 games in this tournament, Cold was arguably, I mean, he was the best player throughout the entire event. I don't think you can really say much else. Damage ratio crazy. Maybe throughout the whole event. Maybe that's a bold statement. I don't want to say that. Almost top of damage. Elims, where is he? 4th as well. Only being out-elimed by 2 by Peterbot. So yeah, Cold also was insane. And last season, a lot of people were saying that Cold was the best player on the team, which is interesting. So basically, Cold showing up for Grands 2 seasons in a row. All right, here's something very interesting. Now, the big Spire is actually here. For some reason, it's not spawned in this replay, so you can't see that. But on approach, the kind of angles that Peterbot's team is going to take to go and basically go for the shrine means that Peterbot is going to kind of box up here and sit onto this, and Ritual and Cold are going to do something else. But watch, as he approaches, he checks his bush. He already knows, like, way ahead of time that there could be players camping in here who are going to come and try to get you and, like, third party him, shoot him in the back as he does this. So he's really thoroughly bush checking that. Any of the spots the players could be hiding in before they start to then shoot the Spire that spawns here. Also that bush too. Come on, Pete, shoot it. Yeah, so now they're fairly confident that they're not actually going to get snuck up on whatsoever whilst doing this. So now they're fairly free to just actually spray and get the loot from it. I'll be honest, this is a generational loot pool. Unbelievable. 3 chug jugs. I know there's not a 100% chance getting chugs from here. I don't know what the full chance is. I could check it up on the Syrian in a second. And then also the shockwave pistol. So basically, like, I think this is the best pulls you can get from this. You can also get the exotic pull shotgun. I can't remember what it's called, the exotic version of this thing. But yeah, this is pretty much like the best RNG you could possibly ask for when destroying the main Spire. There's actually only 33% chance of getting this. Just Assyrian has this laid out. It's basically random whichever Spire you're going to get. I just checked and asked. So there's a 33% chance you're going to get the unstable voltage pistol. And then there's 4 heal spawns that spawn with 100% certainty, and it's 25% chance to get Chug Jug, 25, and you can see the rest. And they got 3 25% pulls. That is insanely good RNG. Now, they've actually given it to Richie, So in one of my, was it extra videos I did? Shorts? I think it was one of my shorts. I've already kind of covered this pistol a lot, but we'll see it throughout the majority of this. Giving this to the guy who is not farming damage makes a ton of sense, because when they probably surge base up later on, which I assume they will do, Ritual can split far away from them and then use the shockwave pistol to go and reharvest mats around the map. So very, very good. Also, realistically, this Richie's probably going to be hitting the least damage with the ARs anyway, and no offense, Richie, but Cold and Peterbot, like, you know your place on the team. You're not the one sitting getting as much damage as possible. So giving him the pistol makes a ton of sense. Another thing he's doing with this is actually boost checking. So making sure no more teams are camping on them. Seems like they're very, very aware that they could just die at any moment if a player's hiding on them based on how many bushes they've checked. And remember, if they die here, FNC's over, they don't win it. They pretty much have to just win this game. Even going as far as like shooting rocks that they're rotating up to here, just to make sure no team's like sitting and hiding on it. All right, Big Pete is decided to surge tower. Now, the positioning of this is actually quite interesting because essentially they're sitting up on this mid-map hills next to boxcars here. I don't know how long they're actually going to stay here for, but if you look at the map, this kind of makes a good amount of sense. So they're in this position here. They made a very early rotate, which is very important to notice. And all of these teams, because so many teams are playing Storm, guys down here, guys down here, guys down here, all this, are more than likely going to rotate past this way at some point. In particular, because there's a bunker. So if any of these teams have gold, so if Utopia City has gold, they can get in there. I'm not sure if it's still there, but there is a toilet that takes you, I think, around this distance too. There's a high likelihood that any of these Utopia City teams are at least going to come south of here, so these teams will rotate into them. I'm not sure about these teams. More than likely, they're going to end up into this position, so I don't think they have anything to worry about. On top of that, there's obviously a team who's going to be fighting soon for this shrine, I would imagine. So by having these three basically set up near, I think they'd be in render distance from here just by looking. So yeah, they could also probably take advantage of the teams there and get more damage too. With all that being said, they just leave that tower behind because they're not doing anything. I take it back. They've swapped places. So Ritual's up in there, while as Cold and Peterbot have kind of moved over to further to the side to rotate round the mountain here, basically over this direction to try and cut off these teams. I think they spotted this team down here. So now they're trying to get in front of them to cut them off to get tags on them. Nice. That's exactly what they're doing. Okay, a couple little bits of damage. So now with this split, actually, if you think about the way that the zone is pulling here, with Richie up here, he has that pistol. Again, he's probably not going to be dealing much damage with the pistol at range. Might annoy some of these teams or something, but I highly doubt he's going to get really anything out of that. With the line of sights that you can see, with this team over here, that's basically cut off like this entire area of the zone for them to get tags on. So anyone who rotates past this entire area basically is ripe for damage. And as we already noticed, there's a few teams south who are already going to pull this way. So this kind of power position early is so good because they're taking advantage of such a massive area of land. It should also be noted that this area that they're looking at is relatively open, right? Like there's a couple trees and stuff that they can go through, but it's not like there's a huge amount of hills that are blocking their way. From their position, they do actually have like line of sight over almost the entire area. So any teams who come out of Storm from now are going to be in a bad spot. Also, I think we're in 4th zone. So it's still only a 1 tick, so like players could tank Storm to get away from them, but I'm not really sure. So we're going to see a really good call from Richie here. So he's been in this tower this whole time, and if you notice on the map there, he doesn't hear the audio. He just marked this team down here. You'll see he's aware of where this team is, but he did not shoot. Remember, this team, they'll need surge, but he basically marks them and calls for his teammates. So if you now look, Peterbot and Pollo are going to run over, and then hopefully they're going to get a good 3-2-1. I haven't actually watched this ahead of time yet. All right, Canada is at the back side there. There's actually 2 teams here, so there's Enough's team, and there's also Rapid and Canada's team there. Great push to push down to try and get close enough to try and take advantage of them, but unfortunately Enough's team has fully boxed up. I don't think they still know where Peterbot is. Richie has started to shoot, but I think that's pushing teams away potentially from him so that they can fully pinch around Enough's team here. They can basically, if they get into good positions, they can fully just take advantage of Enough's team throughout the next like zone or 2 and just farm them for damage. Yep, so now they're starting to move. Unfortunately, Enough's team is aware. So that's actually unfortunate. They managed to get away from that. That is very, very unfortunate there. So they got no damage almost out of that. A really good call from Ritual to mark them and to go for like a 3-2-1, but almost unfortunate timing that they already got beamed by Canada's team. All right. Good tech using the dash onto the launch pad. So that's huge. So now they've basically just jumped miles ahead of the other teams. So remember, Canada's team was right next to them here. Actually, Canada's team was in front of them. And now because they positioned themselves on that hill with dash, they basically almost cut this team off. So this is another opportunity to get like a good amount of damage and tags here, which, to be honest, they haven't gotten much so far. So this is going to be really crucial for them to try and rack up some form of damage so far. Triple bush, and this is exactly why they were scared of the bushes before. They know people do this. Another great use of the dash to cut this team off. So again, getting in front of them. These teams are now going to have to rotate into them so they can try and triple spray them. Going bush to bush, again, also very, very good. That's a resub solo cash cup strat. Not really, it's just the basic strats. And then another great call from Peterbot, actually, to elevate slightly. So you see, he's just gone up slightly in zone. A few, what was this, 3 tiles here? Just to give himself a vision over this. There's also that team that was behind, remember? I don't know if they'll rotate into them. Let's have a look. No, they've rotated all the way far to the left, but now they have 2 teams they can farm for Surge directly in front of them. So this is the beauty of playing this kind of higher layer. And another thing is, they may, if these teams rotate into them, which I highly doubt, who's talking about? Big old shout out to Peanut Brain. Shout out to TS Peanut Brain. I saw one of his videos who was talking about this, which is something I really like the idea of. If you get in front of these 2 teams here, for example, and start holding them as Ritual is, he's actually probably going to create a clear path for himself to rotate through next, because these teams are not so likely just to rotate right into. They're probably going to try and stay away, wrap around or something like that, which means that that's going to clear that path for you to rotate through if you need to for the next zone. So this positioning is actually really nice, the fact they've got here so early. We'll see if that's actually what happens. These teams might just be psychos and just run straight into them, so that might not end up being true. So we'll see. All right, zones pop. They're only 241 above. Now, that's actually not great, I'll be honest. 241 above when there's still 77 people up. That means that they're actually relatively low. So they could drop below in this threshold. I'm not really worried they're going to miss a bunch of shots. I think they're in a good position to get more. But I'm more worried about future zones, because there's 77 still up in the 5th. So, you know, they still need to rack up a ton of damage from the rest of this, for the rest of this match. Again, I'll be honest, I'm not overly concerned about them. I haven't actually watched this match yet, so I don't know how they end up doing, if they fall below Surge or not, but... Oh, look at the damage. Look at the output from Cold. Okay, this is what I mean. Those 2 teams are starting to rotate past them now. Good amount of damage racked up. Canada's team is still far behind. They can trade damage, so Pete can trade damage because he has the Surge coin, not the Surge coin, whatever it's called, the Shield coin. So he can get his basically fully charged all up. He can over-peak if he needs to, as long as he doesn't die, basically. Ason's team's going on the side. Oh, no output from Cold. A little bit. Nice. Okay. Peterbot did still manage to get a little bit of tags. So as I kind of mentioned there, shout out to Peanut Brain again. Canada's team then ended up rotating. They didn't rotate straight into them here. They ended up rotating round to the right, which actually has made it worse because there's 2 teams from now. So look at all this space for that next rotate that Peterbot's team now has. Massive from them. Massive. Now that those 2 teams are fighting, potentially for a Surge. Yeah, now's the time we can get massive output. Just third part in. Those teams are in Storm now. Now that's a 2 tick as well, so some of them might get a little panicked. They can stay here, but... Now their next rotate, max zone. But, again, as I mentioned, because of the positioning that they have, look at this freeness between them there. 1 dash ahead will put them, like, you know, in this position, and they've made double dash to probably get to, like, around here, and I actually know the full distances for it. And then they might even be able to get ahead of all these teams. But I think it's not bad play just to sit here and farm for Surge. Like, they have a really good opportunity to farm Canada's team, and I lost the plot for a bit of damage. So I think this is a good play not to rotate early and just actually stay. All right, time to go. Bit of server lag. They are 700 above. Yep. 1 dash. Little campfire. Okay. Look how unbothered they are now as well. Like, they know the rotate in front of them is entirely free because of the conditioning that they did the whole lobby there. So they don't even need to waste a huge amount of their dashes. Maybe now that they've shot in the backs. Yeah, now they've been shot in the back. Time to use a dash or 2. Good pathing, too. I really like this. The fact that rather than just white lining like a lot of people would, obviously Click's team and Higgs' team's over there, they got shot by Magna, I think. And rather than just, again, running in this way and staying in their line of sight, they've hugged down below here behind this hill, and they should be able to cut up probably through this path, I would imagine here, cutting off more line of sight, meaning this kind of opening here is really one of the only parts they'll need to actually worry about. Or until later on. Little recharge. Yep, double dash through that opening too, which means less chance of getting shot from the one plot they could see. Now they are relatively late though, so lobby focus is starting to come out, so I'm presuming an immediate switch to metal as soon as Pete gets in here. We'll see after the server lag actually ends up kicking out. Big amount of base, hopefully. Yeah, okay, nice. Good few tiles. And then Click's team is immediately sitting next to them as well. All right, a very interesting position coming into this next zone. I don't know if they're going to pull or not, but you can see on the map, if I open that up, they're in quite a rough spot generally. So let me play that so I can move. There we go. We'll see where the next zone pulls, but they are in this position here. Is that them? That is them. Sorry, I can't move it. So if zone pulls max for them, it's a little rough. So usually a lot of teams, you'd like to be in this position here where this team is or this team is. So if it pulls far, you have like a free rotate. Plus, these guys have line of sight onto everyone. And this is because of that late rotate. So because they took that opportunity to farm Surge onto Kanada's team, who was far at the back, they lost the priority position and now have to kind of sit at the edge. The edge is good if you get early because you can hold teams rotating in. But if you're last, you're kind of forced to sit in amongst all of the other congestion like they are right now. So I don't know where Zone's going to pull next. Let's actually have a look easy. Let's play and see where it ends up pulling for them. Max distance zone. So almost as bad as you can get from this position. There are other places that would be worse, of course. Like if you're further back here, this would be awful for these teams. So trying to like jump ahead and get some priority here would be nice. They do still have some dashes, but if they had the triple cape, like the mist cape, that would be nice. They'd be able to maybe just like priority rotate ahead. But only Cold has one. And they all have dash, basically like 2 dashes, this blob, and I think they all have 3 dashes on top of them. So let's see how they actually make this rotate. Instantly go. Double dash. Now they've cut off and then boxed up, create some space. So nice little stagger there. As you can see, they basically tried to cut themselves ahead a little, but everyone else is kind of going. Reach teams down this side. They've got themselves away from like the vast majority. So far this rotate, they've taken 0 damage. Cold also making a really good spot here to take up on a high layer. So he has the cape. Like I said, he's only one with the cape. So basically spotted that there was a little bit of height available free. So jumped up for the early claim here. Nice, got their dashes back in. I don't know how much they're going to need to worry about Surge for the rest of the match. Now they're 270 above. They will need to worry about Surge. So let's see. Is Cold going to put an output masterclass here? Again, another advantage of being here so early is very similar to what we said before, right? They're playing edge. So now that they're here early, edge, high layer, early, which means they have sightlines onto all these people. Of course, if they're like here, they'd have better sightlines, but then they're stuck within the congestion. From this position, they can rotate pretty much whichever way they want into dead side, which is good. And they can kind of condition players not to rotate into this area too. Might be hard because there's a team right under them, which I don't think they'll have sightlines on. But yeah, again, another classic beautiful position. Nice. Huge damage for Cold, putting them 500 above. When you see people using these bats, I know it's like the end of the season, you can just hold your crosshair on them for the pretty much whole time. Oh, someone knocked there. More damage. Yeah, I am not worried about Surge whatsoever for these two. Or for these 3, sorry, this team. Already now 500. That was like 300 damage they just put out in a matter of 20 seconds. All from getting ahead, being into the high layer, and just spraying back. All right, where's zone pull? They pulled the zone! Oh my god, the script is writing itself. They have to win this game in order to qual. And look at the generational zone pull for them. Unbelievable. Unbelievable zone pull, mate. That will never happen to me, I tell you that much. Because imagine it pulled Max. I think it is that King's team that's on height on the opposite side. So imagine alternate reality. Or Eshu's team. It was Eshu's team that's up here. Where it pulled this direction instead. And then they have to make a dash rotate. In the open, essentially, with Eshu's team spraying them from height. That would be insanely rough. But great zone from them. Immediately going to chop down height. Great play from Pete here, because if you think from these players' perspective here, if there was actually still a team up here, or a team had ramped back up, if they have the dashes, they could actually probably dash onto Pete's head from there. That's why they were coning their tops earlier, just to make sure no one was just landing straight on them. So by chopping this out here, they prevent the other teams from just being able to dash on the head, as long as someone's paying attention. Also, interesting that in this game, they switched the AR to Pete's rather than Ritual. Cold's got the Mythic. Okay. Mate, they're respecting the Cold output. Ritual's taking an SMG. Oh, basically, actually, mad respect for Ritual. Giving Pete everything he needs, right? Giving him the pistol, giving him an AR, giving him the shotgun. Like, it's Endgame. Give Pete the good stuff. Let's see. Again, as you can notice, they can repeatedly reload the shotgun. This is more conditioning to the players around them. You can keep them away from you as much as possible, too. Anyone shoots you, you can just kind of grief them with that. Actually, the explosion of that shockwave can be hit through builds. So you can shoot players from above. You can shoot them from below. I want to just watch this full endgame. I'll be honest. I think we're just going to go through the entire endgame, see how they play it from here. Because remember, this isn't... I want to feel it from their perspective. This is an FNCS winning moment. They were still 90 points behind this. They took out the team in first of Pollo. And then they've jumped on height. Like, they have to win the game in order to actually win FNCS. It's a huge play from them. Good connection. They're going to need a refresh or two. 49 builds, 45, 86. So, not the worst. All right, let's see where that next zone's going to pull. The first moving zone. Where is that going to end up? If it pulls back up north, they're blessed. If it pulls north, they're blessed. Cinema! Cinema zone pulls for them. Unbelievable zone pulls. Unbelievable. You can't make that up. You actually can't make that up. All right, 10 seconds, the zone starts to move. Cold is just going to sit on back and just spray with some insane output. I want to see from Pete's POV. What's he going to do with his pistol? Most importantly, how's he going to condition the team? Honestly, I think this endgame would probably be quite boring, realistically. More than likely just spamming at a bunch of players down below. Right, got to avoid getting dashed on, getting birded on. So, good learning, staying so high up. There should be something they can connect to. Remember that height that was old? I don't know if it goes into that zone. I don't think it does. It doesn't actually. Okay, so they can't connect to that. So, maybe we'll be able to connect down to the tower down below. We'll see how they end up playing it out from wide. Cold staying at the back, making sure they don't get flanked. Picking up some good I mean, to be honest, yeah. Is he doing a good job making sure they don't get flanked? Not really. Cold could pretty easily get flanked from that position. It's not paying too much attention behind. All right, let's get back to the POV of Doom. The Peterbot POV. Spraying any second height. This thing is so grief. It's funny that people only really found out it was that broken not that long ago, because at the start of the season, it was some cheeks. Like, the shockwave effect basically did nothing. Yep, anyone near you. Also spraying someone Mel. Okay, interesting, he dropped the... He dropped it to Ritual, but Ritual has no AR ammo, so... Ooh. Ooh, was that accidental? Okay, someone built in front of Pete there, so he shockwaved himself up. Right, Pete going down to connect, maybe? No, Richie's down to connect. Second height team, still trying to spray him into the storm with a pistol. Donnie's just pushed right back into the back of his own tarp. That thing is so annoying. Oh my goodness. Getting this is such good RNG. Remember, it's a 33% chance of getting it from that one Spire, plus with all the chug jugs. So RNG has been definitely gifted their way. The script has been written for Peterbot to win this FNCS, I will be honest. They are playing it fantastically. I'm not trying to take that away from them. Zone pulls max, starting to get that. Ooh, wood on height in the 10th zone. Anyone looks up now, they're going to look super weak. Ooh, Pete shooting himself back into storm for some reason. I think that's accidental. That's a lot of storm damage taken. Where's zone pulling? The pullback when you're on height. Unfortunately, it doesn't matter. That's what I mean. The chop comes out. Good damage onto PHZ. Now the height's contested. It's fought for. Straight down into the med mist. They've given up height. Who was it that took it? Who went up for height here? That was the Brazilian, well, the South American team, who's actually fully just claimed height. Oh, wait, I'm seeing some tech. I'm seeing some Pete tech. Oh my god, go back. Let me go back. They get chopped. The good shot. They lose height. Get into the med mist. 20 builds, barely anything left. They see them on height. Sprays PHZ off. Hits him again. Does he die to fall? Doesn't quite kill him to fall. But now they know it's a duo on height. Oh! Phaser off too! Wait, that gun is so broken. What am I seeing? The mantle. A king off as well, but he does a good clutch to survive. And they've taken height. Literally height retake just because the pistol spraying him off over and over. That's wild. And Phaser is dead down below. Don't take the big Pete's height. This hill zone is also brutal for all the teams down below. It's just pulled up all of this, by the way. So for any team who's dropped down, they've now had to pull back up. This is an unbelievably good... Like, these zone pulls for Pete are so good. But, of course, they played them fantastically, keeping the... keeping the elevation up above everyone else. Being aware of the hill zone. They're not dropping too far down. They're not doing stuff the other team is. And now it pulls across. 0 builds, 4 builds, 0. Okay, Pete's got nothing. We're going to need to see some bang masterclass here. That little SMG's not doing much. Oh, Yomzo. Sprayed up onto height. The pistol actually almost ruined it for them there. Oh, I'm getting nervous for them, even though I know the outcome of this match. No match on height. Ugh. It is lucky it's pulling back through a bunch of old builds, though. So they have something to walk across. Hearing birds all around us. Braids. 18. Nothing special. The confidence to drop down to try and go for the side angles. They know they need to win. They know they can't just be staying on height. Cold. Down to almost no HP. The attempt to just spray in is insanely aggressive from Pete. Willing to risk his entire FNCS just to win the match there. By getting in. 3 teams remaining. They're the only full trio still. Still not Pete. Who's coming on to height? It's Yomzo. Oh, he's off. Bye-bye. They've got some builds between them. Pete still has 0, though. They're getting involved. Drop down the max from Pete. Cold's dead. Aminish dead. I don't know what's happening right now. Little damage. Onto Yomzo. No heal off. Good bang. Ooh, Click's dead. He's down. And Ritual's back playing the heal off to win it all. Ooh, what a game. Now, let's check the leaderboard quickly. I'll show you how close this was and how everything actually mattered. Each elim is worth 4 points. And they were able to win by 3 points. So had Acorn's team got a single... Like, imagine Acorn's team had got, like, 1 knockoff spawn and finished them. That would have been 4 points, and that would have put them up ahead. Or if there were any of those elims in the end game that they got, they would have come second. They would have come second by 1 point. And if it was a tiebreaker on any of the placement or anything, Pollo's team easily would have won because they have 4 wins too. So I want to actually see all of the elims in the end game here. Because some of these are going to be insanely close. Richie gets like 2 here. And again, with none of these, he jumps in. I was going to say, if any of these they didn't get, they don't win. They needed a 7 elim win to beat them, and they got a 7 elim win. 6 elim win wouldn't have done it. So he elims Higgs. Does he get Tacky? And Tacky. So the big Richie with the 2 elims. And then Big Pete drops down. Bang! Onto Diminished. 116. He dies to Storm. No, he doesn't. Gets another bang. Beautiful. And then I think he gets Chip here. 30 damage onto Yomzo. And I think he then gets the knock. I think he counts as Yomzo's knock. No one, as far as I'm aware, no one damaged Yomzo throughout the rest of that match. Clicks is coming up. Blocks the wall. Beautiful. He manages to not only floor cone, he full protects himself from every angle there. Like, unbelievable awareness from Pete to cover his sides. Jumps up. Blocks Clicks. Clicks dies. He doesn't get any of the damage. You can see in the top left, he ends up knocking himself. And then Diminished gets cold. So he doesn't get the knock. He potentially, if he shot the body, he would have been able to get another elim here. And then Yomzo bats, dies, and that counts as Peterbot's elim. So because Pete did that damage, he ended up getting the credited for that, which won them FNCS. Cinema!